Thanks so much for joining me today on Dynamo BIM. Today on Dynamo Shorts, we're going to be finding and replacing elements. Just like if you were in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel and you went to find and replace up in the toolbar, we are going to do that with our Revit data. There's a lot of text in Revit. Hopefully it's tied to instance parameters or parameters. We're going to be working with instance parameters that are text values. So view names, right? That's a text value instance parameter associated to views. All kinds of elements have instance parameters, as we know. Doors have instance parameters, right? Maybe the comments, what have you. So we're going to be finding values within those parameters, replacing them with a value that we specify. We're going to be doing this in the sample file, of course, Revit 22. Let's get started. I want to take these view names and essentially find values within them, like level or floor, and replace them with a different value. Okay, so just like we said in Word or Excel when you do the find and replace function, right? We're going to be working with views. This could work with any category of elements within Revit, so we're going to make this script super flexible. Have Dynamo open here from the Manage tab. To start, we're just going to go ahead and do a new script here. Now, I essentially want this to be user interfacing. I want them to be able to specify which category of elements they want to update. In this case, once again, we're going to be doing views. But once the user interfaces with this, like I said, maybe they want to do doors, the comments that they have. Maybe they want to find values within a different category of elements. Okay. So here I'm going to get all elements of that category of views here. And you can see I get all of my views. Now I do get a few null values. Views do report some weird things like the project browser and view templates. So to clean this up a little bit, I'm first of all going to create this group, make it pink. I like all of my user interfacing group nodes to be in pink, and I'm going to say specify category of elements to update. Copy that value into my node name. Now make this an input so that in Dynamo Player, which we'll see in a little bit, we can customize that to be a different value from views. But it will still grab all of the elements of that category. Now, to clean this up, once again, we get some null values. I'm just going to go ahead and do a list.clean, not preserve the indices. So I'm going to pull a Boolean here and do false, do not preserve indices. And here now I have all of my elements of that category, and I've cleaned that list. So now, because once again my script is on automatic, we'll see I have 43 values, no more nulls, which is great. And of course this will just help our script later run a little bit more smoothly. So now that we have all of those views, we essentially want to ask them for a parameter, find a value within that parameter, and replace it. So we're going to find the view names of these elements, right? So you can see here we have the parameter of view name. We're going to find a value in there and replace it. Before we get the parameter value that we want to change, or the parameter that we want to change, go ahead and group this. Get elements, clean list. And now we can go ahead and move on and get parameter value by name. In this case, we, of course, as mentioned in previous episodes, want to get a string node because code blocks cannot be inputs. So I can right click on here just as I did with the category and make that an input. Right click is input. And in here I will say specify parameter value to update text string. Accept, and I will actually, before I do that, copy that, of course, make this a pink group because it's a user-facing input. Copy that value in there. And now I can go ahead and input that in. Now for my sake, and as default, I can go ahead and put view name. You can see here that we get all of our view names. Now, view templates do not have view names, right? They have a name, probably. So they show as blanks, which is fine because we're basically going to ask this value, do you contain a value that we specify? So we'll put in a new string here and make this a pink group. And we will say specify value to be replaced to our string node. And we can come in here, we can say this is our string. We want to find maybe level. Now in this case, I actually do not want to ignore case because maybe people actually want to use the case sensitivity to, do the find and replacing. And maybe they want to find all the lowercase floors and replace them with uppercase floors or what have you. So I am going to leave this as false. Do not ignore the case. And you can see that I get a list of trues and false, right? Booleans here are my output. So now I can then filter this list and get just the views that contain that value, right? So I'll actually move all of this stuff down here. And now I have my list of views that have that in the name, right? You can see here that we have entry level for our floor plan, ceiling plan, area plan, and probably another view plan type, right? Furniture layout, you can see there. All right, so now that we have all of those views, 4 in this case, we can now replace those values, right? So we're going to go ahead and do a string.replace. And once again, we are going to ask these values. Now, some of you might be like, Dana, you're doing a little bit too much work here. Why are you filtering the list? Why don't you just replace it all at once? Well, here, it's especially with my view templates that don't have any values, it's going to be a much cleaner process. Additionally, I'm going to be able to feed out the list of elements that were updated. If I just did the string.replace, it would just replace all of those values and output the whole list of views, right? Without necessarily telling me what was replaced. So just a little bit of a cleaner way, maybe a little bit of a longer way. It's definitely going to be a little bit cleaner within Dynamo Player once we get in there, and probably produce less warnings, right? We're so used to seeing run completed with warnings. It's so ambiguous. So we're going to also produce an output, as I mentioned, that will tell the user what changed, regardless of a warning. All right, so now that I have these values and I actually want to ask the filtered list what their parameter name is, and I'm going to replace that string, search for level, and going to replace my value here with another string node. So I'm going to say specify value to replace with. And maybe here I want it to be floor. Now you can see if I look at the output here, all of those level values in the view names are now floor. A much cleaner, concise way of doing it. Getting down to just the views that have that value and replacing only those rather than replacing the entire list of views, which once again includes view templates. So now that I have that, I'm going to clean this up a little bit, of course, right? So I have my value, I'm replacing the value. So this is filtering to elements with value specified. And then here I am, of course, replacing those values. All right, a bit cleaner. Notice also how I'm using the same nodes here so that the nodes aren't repeated. That's kind of the last thing that I want to do is have multiple nodes kind of doing the same thing in the background. So now, go ahead and do an element.set parameter value by name. Of course, we know what these values are, right? Our filtered list. We know what our parameter value is because it's been specified over here. And we know what that value is because it's our string.replace. And once we do that, we do get a pop-up asking, do you want to rename the level corresponding to that view? Sure, why not? If you don't understand a pop-up, best to probably just hit no, right? And now all of those values that were level are now floor. Come down here to my area plan somewhere. You can see that that has also been updated. Now, before I am done in here, of course, one last little cleanup piece here. I like anything that is updating my Revit model, whatever it might be, to be in orange group there. So now I can essentially produce that output, right? I can say what elements were updated. Like my reporting to be in gray. I'm saying elements because once again, it's not just views that can be updated. We're going to see within Dynamo Player here in a minute that more than just these elements, these views that we've specified, because we've made these inputs, right? And we're going to go ahead and right click, make sure all of these values are set to be, look at that, are set to be as an input. And then additionally, I am going to put an output on the watch node. Only watch nodes can be outputs. All right, now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up in Dynamo Player. Manage Dynamo Player, and I'll navigate to that place that I saved. Final one here. And by clicking Edit Inputs, we can see we now get all of those inputs here. Which category we'd like to update, what parameter value we're updating and letting our user know that it does need to be a text value, what value is being replaced, and then specify value to be replaced. I didn't replace that node name there, right? I placed the group. So we need to update that. Not a problem. That's what checking our work is for, right? So I'm just going to take this, copy it, paste it right into the node name, save that, get out, refresh it. And you can see here it says now, specify value to replace with. Okay, fix that. So let's pick a different element. Maybe I'll select a bunch of walls, give them some comments, and we can dynamically change them. So filter down, check none to walls. Give them all a comment of change. And now I can go ahead and I can select walls and comments. Want to change to maybe uppercase update. And let's go ahead, just for the sake of being able to view this, let's create a wall schedule with comments so that we can see this dynamically change. And there we go. Find and replace for instance-based text parameters. So much for joining me today on this episode of Dynamo Shorts. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you have not yet done so. Thanks again.